After traveling to the underworld to pit their fiercest former competitors against each other, the final clash of the Titans truly ends an era of Dragula. I'm Grady.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Charisse.
And this is Highlights. I'm glad we're all reunited for this finale.
I know.
First of all,
it's true. I missed you so much.
I know it's been a rough ride for us all this season. This was not it, everyone. Better luck next time. Wow. But Highlights always endures, as do all three of us. So I'm excited. And good news for everybody listening is that they can binge all of these episodes at once when they all drop this week, because they're finally dropping, and I'm excited for that. Just in time to recap this finale, and for anybody who's binging the series all at once, use this as your guide. So, get the elephant out of the room. Congratulations, Victoria Elizabeth Black. Very deserving.
Yes.
Very deserving. I'm glad it was Victoria.
Scared me for a minute there.
Yeah, they did.
A little nervous leading up to that announcement.
Ready to jump out my window.
Yeah. I definitely have some thoughts about the finale and the season as a whole, in general, about how this all went down. Mostly good, but thoughts are there. Real quick though, let's talk about the finale as a whole. And there really wasn't a lot to cover in the finale, which was fascinating. But top three: Coco, Hoso, Victoria, all returned to the boudoir. Not much to cover. They each think they're amazing. That's great. And no fright feat, but when they get delivered their final challenge, they get told a couple things. So one is they're going to have to do the podcast interviews, which I think are going to be the new norm. Very much like Drag Race. And
which, if I was, they're talking about how they're going to have this new format and everything. And I'm like, wow, this is really following the format of another program where there's a single that comes out at the end of the season. And
suspiciously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
I completely agree. It's part of my thoughts. And they get told they're going to have to do the podcast interviews. And that instead of separate floor shows, they're going to do all the tenets of Dragula in one floor show because they're Titans. Which to me sounds a little backwards. But I understand wanting to make it different for Titans, and that it will be a lip sync performance to their new song Ascension. Very much like Drag Race. And I mean, I get it. In a lot of ways, this show was initially, I think, inspired a lot by Drag Race through their lens. But now I think we're getting a little close. It's starting to bother me a little bit.
Eerily close.
Yeah.
Strangely close. If they had started a music video for the season finale song, then we would really be,
I'm sure that's coming.
I know.
In the future.
I mean, but there's only so many ways you can do a televised drag competition, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fright feats. I feel like they need to keep that part in there.
Yes.
I feel like that's very on brand for them. I don't know if they would cut that, but yeah.
I didn't understand that there didn't really seem to be any consequences for them this season. Even though
With
they
the
said
fright
that
feats?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
They were just kind of there. So, I mean, even people who like opted out or like quit very early in their fight feats. Like that didn't necessarily mean they were going home or that they faced any
Or being
consequences
swapped
for
out,
them.
like they said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like they wanted to try a lot of things this season and then didn't either follow through with them or they just dropped them all together and said we're just going to go through it.
I agree. I want to go to the interviews real quick. They interviewed everybody all at once, which felt oddly chaotic to me. It kind of felt
Yeah.
like a mess.
It felt like 3 separate interviews were happening all at the same time because they treated each interviewee differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Each interview had a different tone set by the Boulets asking the questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess it's because they toured with Hoso, but Hoso's felt very like kiki, like,
and lengthy.
Yeah, and we're hanging out, we're talking to Hoso, like, great. Like we traveled the world together, we're buds, that's cool. And then the other 2 were very like, hey Victoria, if you could be, I think it was like, who if you could slap somebody, which is a very like, if you could be any animal,
Right.
what would it be? It's like, okay, like what
Like
questions?
Hoso's questions got to be deep. It felt like, and she really
Yeah.
got to have like thought out responses to them. And by the time they got to Coco, it was very just like, I don't know. It just didn't seem very genuine.
Coco's was very broad, but I also think Coco missed an opportunity to be very vulnerable and go to some places that they opened the door for her to go, and she didn't go there.
Yeah. I think it's like you said while we were watching it, that she was preparing herself to be disappointed.
Yes. She's very but it's interesting because she talks so much about how two-faced everybody else is and how real people need to be and how real she is. And to a certain degree, I think that's true because she lets herself be real, but only to a certain extent, only at the surface. It's because she's not revealing a lot of deeper stuff. And I just find that very interesting. And it's like she's always guarded, and then she was guarded in the interview, and then it was like she was preparing for herself not to win. So then she's like, oh, I don't need to win. I can be whatever. And it just felt like she was convincing herself more than anything.
Yeah.
Not that I disagree, but
she also always seems to be real when she is observing other people, but when it comes to herself, it's very, very vague, very surface level, very not so that.
Yes.
Like Hoso Teratoma is always like, oh, what can I use from my past to garner attention and sympathy and
yeah, she's like the other end of the spectrum.
Yes,
it's like
and
how
then Coco is always
over
like,
vulnerable.
I'll tell my story when I'm ready.
Yeah.
But she never tells her story.
Yeah, it's like truths,
Like,
but like very vague truths.
Yeah, like the only time that Coco was personal in the entire interview was, I wish maybe somebody had told me that perhaps you shouldn't go meet an older gentleman in a car on a street you've never been in before, you know, with a car without a license plate.
Which she presented as a humorous joke.
Right. But even that little bit I would love to know more about those experiences that she's had to make her more of a relatable person.
Exactly.
Right.
Instead of it just being like, I have a story, and then she flicks her fingernails across her chin and doesn't say anything.
Exactly. Yeah. I just thought it was a missed opportunity for her a little bit. But I also felt like she waited forever to be interviewed. So maybe she was feeling a certain type of way by that point. I don't know. Going to the floor show, the Boulay looks for this finale, I really liked them. I don't know that it warranted the extended floor show they gave.
It was a lot.
I was like, I get it. I can see the outfit. Like, I don't. There's only so many times I can watch you smile at this thing you're wearing.
Also, if you're going to try to hide your tattoos and obvious signifying marks all season long, why are you going without tights in the last episode, girl?
All of their looks,
like, those were man legs. I'm sorry. I love the Boulay brothers, but that They had man legs.
Oh my god.
I did not appreciate
Go, Charisse.
seeing that. Man knees. It took me completely out of the fantasy. Completely out of the Boulay Brothers fantasy.
We would like to remind everybody that drag is art and art is subjective.
It is. But if they're going to read somebody for being this cheap ass mail order bodysuit, the dress that they gave their podcast interview in was the cheapest polyester I've ever seen because that sheen on camera was bad. Wouldn't it be crushed velvet? It's fine. I'm not mad about
not
it.
wrong.
I'm just saying it's what happened. And it's said with love. Horror, filth, and glamour.
Well, there you have it, folks.
Pardon my coughing attack, instant karma.
Okay, no. Yeah, the whole season I've been kind of underwhelmed by a lot of their looks, and I didn't really understand. I was like, what happened? And I love the Boulets. I would do anything for Team Dragula, but it just almost felt like a step backwards from last season, and I was like, what happened? But then they said something today or in the finale that I was like, oh, that's true, because we've talked about Hoso being on the season, going immediately on tour, immediately coming back, but the Boulets did the same thing. So maybe it's just the extra stress of having to prep for the season while they're also on tour and doing all of these other things on the side. And they're recording music, and I think it's just maybe too much was on their plate.
I mean, writing
I
the next
could see that.
production. Yeah, like writing the next production while you're in the production you're doing is a little bit difficult.
Yeah. It sounded like they maybe learned some lessons from this tight turnaround time. And I'm interested to see how that impacts some of the changes they make on the show and how it impacts how they choose what they wear when they design certain things. I think they're going to make a lot of choices or changes for themselves too, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And how they operate. I'm being attacked by a dog. Just kidding.
There's a cat on the TV.
Oh, wow. That'll do it.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I think.
mean,
No,
I
go
love
ahead.
The Boulay Brothers. If they need more time, then please take more time. I'm
Yeah.
here for a quality product. I will wait for a quality product. Please don't push things out just for the sake of putting things out.
Yeah,
As a fan, that's how I feel. I'm sorry.
I agree. Whoa, she is getting that cat. That cat is dead today. I definitely agree that it's kind of an end of an era for Dragula for them. And I think they're realizing they have to make certain changes. And, season 1, when it's just kind of them and people they know and some handheld cameras, no unions, no networks. It's a
In a
very
horrible
different world.
soundstage.
Yeah, now they, it's great. They've built this great thing, but now
Yeah.
there's contracts, there's, episode orders, there's all these
Yeah.
things that they have to do now under this kind of corporate umbrella, and along with this other brand they've built for themselves and everything on the side that comes with that. So I agree, they have to make some changes, and I think hopefully for better, but maybe for worse, I don't know. Dragula is going to change and be a little different going forward, and it is what it is.
Growth is painful.
Yes.
It is.
Anyways, that's why I like their outfit. Which was how that started. Very philosophical conversation regarding their outfits. The actual floor shows for the contestants I don't understand why we needed to do it all at once. I guess so we didn't have to hear the song more than once, but I almost would have rather listened to it 3 times and gotten complete floor shows from each one.
Absolutely. It felt like if they were trying to describe a narrative and they had to do this whole performance, splitting it up and editing all 3 together made no sense, because then you're only getting bits and pieces of whatever narrative that they as artists put together.
Right.
Yeah.
I was really confused in the beginning. Like, I was trying to make sense of what. Like, it clearly opened with Victoria, and I was like, cool. And then all of a sudden they flashed to Hoso, and I was like, what? And then we get back to Victoria for a really long time. And I was like, oh, maybe. And then all of a sudden it was Coco as a spider, and I was like, what's going on? It was it was a lot.
For real. You're like, did the edible kick in yet? Oh no, wait. Oh yes, no.
Yeah, it was just,
you shouldn't have to wonder.
the intervals between transitions were just not consistent at first. I was like, what's happening? And then they got a little more spliced together, which was fine. But
it's almost like that's why, on the other program, when they do this kind of challenge, like to unveil a new song, the script and art direction for a music video has already been set up for them, and then they just need to star in those roles, and then they're judged based on that, because then you don't have to do this kind of splicing thing that they did.
It also seemed very busy behind Victoria Elizabeth Black, and then empty in stark comparison between Hoso and Coco.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's because Victoria went full lesbian and built a set in 48 hours.
Yeah.
She went all in.
And Coco was like, I made some spider legs.
Hopefully it's anatomically correct.
Yeah. Coco was like, I'll just spank this random person on the stage.
Yeah.
For 4 minutes.
But I really liked her performance.
I did too, once I realized what was happening. Hoso's, I like the flow of Hoso's. I liked the concept behind Hoso's, and the reveal and this culmination thing she was doing. I just thought, for me, the reveal was underwhelming. The Boulets disagreed.
Yeah,
but
it was. It was very basic what came out of that cocoon. But I think her performance overall was pretty well put together. Like, she had choreography. I understood what she was doing.
Right.
I just wish it had been a little more.
Do I need to see her as a bug again? No, but it's also the grand finale, and it's her brand. And if she's going to evolve in that performance, that's kind of cool. Like, do that. But then she came out in what she came out in, and I was like, oh, this is the ultimate
this is Ultimate Cell.
Yeah, I was
like, a bodysuit.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was not for me. Victoria's, I think I need to see Victoria's all in one shot together, but it felt like there was a lot of storytelling in the beginning, and the end was her doing 3.5 minutes of just a regular lip sync performance with dancers.
What I thought was going to happen was when she turned the set she built around, so that it revealed her as a doll, she was going to have a different look, because it was kind of weird that she just revealed herself to be as she was as the mad scientist.
Yeah.
That part didn't really add up for me, but I thought overall her performance was really well thought out.
Yeah.
Zach, oh my gosh, I could not put my finger on what I disliked about that scene right there, and it was because there was no outfit change. I was like, but you can't zap yourself and be the doctor and the monster at the same time. I'm still right,
because it's you're the same character, so it's there's no transition.
The story was definitely disjointed.
Yeah, I completely agree. It wasn't until during their deliberation, when they pieced her story together with all of the things, and they incorporated season 2 and all of these things that they brought up, that I was like, oh. Yeah,
get it.
there's these extra things where I was like, okay, like that's cool. But I
You know,
didn't really.
Dragula does that a lot, where what we see in the floor show is not always what they end up talking about,
I know.
and sometimes it's like major points that we miss, and they base their entire judgment on it. So it's like, oh well, we didn't see that, so it's like we saw a different show than you guys did.
Yeah. Please add this to the list of changes.
Speaking
Yes.
of the show that we never saw, dun dun dun, Swanthala putting on a wig and a roach crawling across her face
Yeah,
as
what
the
is that?
origin story.
Girl, where are you getting your wigs if there are
No.
cockroaches in them?
My first thought was, your parents are so scary that if they find your drag, you are fucking dead. So you literally buried it somewhere and you had to dig it back up in order to get dressed. Your drag closet is underground. Like, that's where I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah. I know parents like that.
Yeah. Their journey in general is wild. Like,
Yeah.
what? A lot of it, I think, started with them as a couple, which is a real testament to their relationship, by the way.
For sure.
Like, what happens if that falls apart? There's a lot riding on that.
How
But
dare you
good
even
for them.
speak that?
I know. But I think they're fine. And they didn't really start off as drag characters. Like, maybe it was the roach. But but now they've grown on this like drag journey together, which is cool. I don't know. It felt like it was very emotional for them doing this season and kind of referencing all of the seasons prior and what that's looked like for them, and except for Swanthala, she was drunk the whole time. But
hands down, she was definitely super wobbly when they were doing the floor show of their own looks. I was like, she's walking kind of crooked right now, even though you're trying to play that really fast.
like, welcome to Brothers Bootleg. Oh, I love them though. Good for them. The season as a whole, real quick. I gotta say, I loved all of the references and callbacks to everything prior, and I love it being a true all-stars type season. Did it feel like a Clash of the Titans though, or like a more challenging version of Dragula? I don't know.
I don't think it did. I mean, especially because the change was what they did with the fright feats. It was just not, it didn't have the same vibe. Like, I appreciated, like you said, all the callbacks and everything. Like, that was all really cool to remember those characters and the stuff that they had been through. But as far as it being like, okay, you're the best, so we're going to put you through the ringer, I didn't get that vibe.
Me neither. I don't know. I just feel like, not to compare it, but All Stars on the other program really feels like the expectations are much higher and a lot of the things are more challenging. And we get a lot of better stuff on an All Stars season that way, which makes regular seasons feel a little like less elevated, rightfully so. But I don't know that I think Victoria brought All Stars energy. She brought Titans energy, but was the show set up that way? I don't know.
I almost feel like Resurrection was a more
Right.
like Titans and a more like challenging All Stars season, if we're going to call it that, than this one did.
I agree. Which Victoria also built several sets for in her fucking living room. She's handy.
Like if anyone came with that kind of caliber, it was definitely Victoria.
Yeah.
For sure.
Victoria was like, losing again? No, ma'am.
Right.
Yeah, I really appreciated it. I will say what Hoso did was really impressive, again, considering going straight through. because it really felt like she really took time to prepare, and it's like, no, she didn't, because she didn't have time. So all objectively, I gotta give some props to Hoso.
Yes, I mean, she did work. I'm not saying that. I just don't think that she
She was
constructs
there.
as much of her garment as she would like everyone to believe. And I think that
Oh,
there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that people don't see that she doesn't necessarily talk about.
one of her many lovers building her outfits.
Mhm.
Oh, I see. Which, to be fair, I mean, the way she treated production last season, she's like, put me in my outfit.
Right.
Maybe I believe that. Yeah. Interesting. Overall, I like the season.
For sure. And nothing against Hoso as a drag artist. I'm just not here to serve you and put your costume on. I don't want the ticket for that show. Thank you. Rather go see Coco get way too high and like lose a shoe.
Coco does it herself. She's like, today I'm wrapping myself in saran wrap. And I love that. She's like, first I'm going to sew these strips and then I'm going to throw them away because they didn't turn out well. And then I'm going to put this thing on.
Oh, and all in all, I really hope that Melissa B. Fierce walking away from the competition was the correct decision for her, because I definitely needed her to be in this finale and she wasn't.
That made me sad.
Yeah, that was rough.
That made me sad. Because I definitely think she would have taken, as much as I don't want to say it, I think she would have taken Coco's spot.
Because she's a Titan. She brought Titan energy.
Right. Moving forward, so ominous foreshadowing of changes for Dragula. How much or how little that is, we don't know, but they are casting for season 5 right now. I will say that. So it's on the horizon. What are you hoping changes, or what are you hoping stays the same? What are your thoughts on the future of Dragula?
I don't know. I feel like the things that they tried for this season didn't really work out. Like the one episode of voting and the fright feats not really meaning as much as they typically do. So I kind of hope that the fright feats go back to what they were intended. I don't really know what else I could imagine them changing, except maybe just being more consistent and maybe not trying so many hats at once.
Yeah.
So, for me, I enjoyed the fright feats, and I enjoyed the fact that they had to jump through a certain hoop in order to make it to the floor show. Like, I appreciated that. Like, how bad do you want it? I definitely enjoyed seeing Erica bob for bloody pig face. And if I'm the only one, I'm really sorry, but I did. Some of the other fright feats weren't necessarily like, I was like, oh, that's not really super traumatizing for me, but I'm not sure if it was for some of the other competitors, right? Because everyone has their own fear and it's not necessarily the same or along the same lines of something, right? Like, obviously, what was it, season 2, when Valencia, ! Decided not to jump out of that plane? Like, that was some legit shit. Being scared of heights, that's legit, right?
I was just thinking about that. That's interesting.
So, that compared to some of the fright feats that they did this season, I was like, wow, I don't know that it was enough.
Yeah. A lot of it feels very safe.
Yeah.
Compared to what's been done before. And I'm sorry, but the Staircase of Souls, not scary enough for me.
It wasn't, especially since it had no consequences. Everybody just kept coming back.
Yeah. And it was a few feet off the ground. I'm like, and this is what I was thinking about that particular challenge. I'm like, you've made people jump out of a plane.
Right.
Right.
Like, build a bigger staircase. Like, what are we doing?
Buried them alive and peed on their face.
Yeah.
And you're gonna shove them through a trapdoor. Like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
Like I am thinking back to all these other like literal like extermination challenges that they've had. This is a serious like competition.
Yeah.
Almost like Fear Factor and Drag all rolled into one.
Yeah. Because I feel like we've already been kind of sliding backwards, and I think that's a result of, you know, being under a network now and all that stuff, which is great for them, but it comes with a price.
Yeah.
And
cheapens my product.
Yeah, and now they have this tight turnaround. They have all these expectations and all this stuff coming up, and I'm worried now that we're going to be scaling more stuff back. I don't know, but we'll see. Favorite quote, hands down, is from Hoso Teratoma, where she said, "On Titans, we are all Erica." The shade of that was just hilarious to me. But also I was like, are you? It felt like they were very clear. Like, some people were not sweating at all on Titans, when I feel like everybody should be sweating. Victoria didn't sweat a bit. She's like, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
So I don't know. But I mean, it's a cool concept. I hope they expand on Titans and make it a little more Titan-esque. And I think that was a really weird crowning, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so underwhelming.
Yeah. Like, just film the crownings. Thank you. And, you know, you already like pulling from a certain other program. So just film all the endings and then put in the one you need. Thank you so much.
But
I want to
maybe-
see somebody actually get crowned.
And have their carry moment. Like, I need to get you, they need to be covered in blood. I need somebody to scream. It's just the way that it is.
Yes. And I need everybody to be back. Thank you. Like, please bring back everybody who's competed all season and make them fight in front of me. Thank you.
Yeah, and have a
Yeah, I
reunion
really missed
and-
that this season.
Yeah, I miss the Last Supper. I really miss the Last Supper a lot.
Yeah.
I need them to keep that in the format.
It's like they made it different from a regular season, but in like all the wrong ways.
Yeah.
If anything, there was more drama and more of a reason to have a Last Supper. Maybe a Last Supper part 1,
Yes.
part 2.
Yes, 100%. I don't understand. But
Imagine how much more drama it would have been if they had actually voted each other out the entire way through.
yes,
That would have
I'm
been
happy they
so-
didn't.
Yeah.
It's a
that
little on
would
the
have
nose.
Made for really good drama and really good.
Yeah, I
TV.
agree. That's why the other program does it. But yeah, I don't know. I hope the changes that come are good changes for Dragula.
It's true.
Any other thoughts?
No.
Chirp? Okay.
I'm glad it wasn't Hosa.
I got real worried for a minute.
Yeah.
Drac was really talking her up for a hot minute. I was like, oh
Yeah.
no.
And they're like,
Seriously, though.
needs to be somebody who's not doing what we're doing. And I was like, but does it have to be doing what Osa's doing? Like,
Right.
please no. Oh God. But I definitely think the right person won. I will say that. I was very pleased with that. Congratulations again to Victoria Elizabeth Black,
Yes.
Who's-
Congratulations.
finally getting her dues.
The big reveal. The big reveal.
Oh, that's it?
The big reveal. The big reveal.
Bloody heavy basket. Bloody heavy basket.
Now you done piss me off. Now you done piss me off.
Boring. Yawning. Sloppy. Lazy.
Congratulations to a failure role as a... Congratulations to a... Looks like me and the producers need to have a little bit of a talk. Looks like me and the producers need to have a little bit of a talk.
Another season of Dragula down, another season of highlights down, both rough rides. And
We're still here.
yeah, end of an era for both. We gotta make some changes. But I'm excited that we got to be on this journey together. I'm excited that we got another season of Dragula, and I'm excited that we're getting even more. And we're going to be back for Drag Race 15 in just a couple short weeks. And
Whoop, whoop.
yeah, that'll be a long journey. But we are not covering that weekly anymore. Please. Because it will never end. And I can't. Because as it is, that season is going clear through April, maybe into May. And I can't.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God, no.
They have 16 contestants, Cherie. More than they've ever had. It's 2 more than they had last season. And last season went until the end of April. So I'm assuming it will be at least that long, if not longer. Wow. Oh, yes, ma'am. However, if you would like to catch any of our past coverage of Dragula Titans, you can catch that right here on the PG Media channel, and probably fairly easily because it just dropped. And you can find social media information in the description below. Also sketchy at best with that. So do with that what you will. And we will again.
But we are there.
It is there. It does exist.
In theory.
Yes. And we will be back for Drag Race season 15. And on time, I promise. And with that being said, as always,
Thank you for watching highlights.
And we will see you next time.